Well, that's the one. This is where this is. I was working on that. We're also working on that for the
Good evening. I expected that. I was thinking that this afternoon.
You guys all ready? I'd like to call the Ravenna City Council Committee of the Whole meeting for April 20th to order. Thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate seeing all your nice faces. We'll get started since we have a quorum for the committee with the first item, which is approval of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes for March 23rd. Do we have any modifications, additions to those minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes stand approved. The next item is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a dispatch contract with Neomed Police Department. This is from Public Health and Safety. Ms. Michael?
Yes, we talked about this at committee. We are now going to be offering dispatch service with Neomed. They are going to go into contract with us. Really no other additional information other than allowing us to go into contract and offer them service.
Comments or questions about this ordinance? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Consent.
Consent agenda? Folks in the back, there are some seats open up in the front if you'd like to come in. We hate to see you standing all night. Okay, the next item is an ordinance to apply for and accept the Safety Intervention Grant with a 25% match, also from Public Health and Safety. Ms. Michael?
Yes, this grant does require a match. I believe it's 15,000? 15,000 is the maximum. Right, okay. And this is going to be used to purchase equipment to help aid with accidents, cutting vehicles open. It's a good use of the funds. It's needed, and it's a great opportunity for us to get some additional equipment for our fire department.
Comments, questions? What is the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Would you like to place this in the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
And as we go along, if anybody wishes not to put something in the consent agenda, please let us know. All right, item 4 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with JBL Roofing and Construction, also from Public Health and Safety. Ms. Michael?
Yes, unfortunately, this has to happen due to the amount of damage that we have on our current police department with the flooding. This is something that we knew eventually was going to have to be repaired. Our warranty has expired. However, we did get a really good price on this quote from, who was it?
JBL.
Yeah, JBL, that's right, it's right here. JBL, this is for the roof at the police department, and I'm looking for the number, I thought I had it right here, was it like 58,000? And it has to happen, or we will lose a lot of the equipment, the electrical. It's a fix that has to go forward.
Does anybody have any comments or questions?
I was up at the police station, and I could say they have these big buckets, and it's right in the IT room too, where you could see the rod, the hole in the ceiling where it's coming in. There's a lot of sensitive equipment there.
We'll call that expensive, sensitive equipment.
Any other comments? What is the pleasure of the committee?
Consent. Ordinance.
And consent.
I meant to move to
We
consent.
accomplish both at the
Yeah.
same time. Okay, next item, an ordinance to adopt the 2026 Portage County Hazard Mitigation Plan. final item for the public health and safety.
Yeah, this is housekeeping. This allows us to, it happens every 5 years, and this helps us so that we are able to obtain FEMA funding.
Questions or concerns about this item? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Consent.
Consent? All right, moving along. The next item is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Perrin Asphalt Company, Streets and Sidewalks. Mr. Harper.
Yeah, Perrin Asphalt was the best low bid this year for our annual summer paving program. Bid came in at just over $1.1 million worth of repairs and work this summer.
Repairs to both streets and sidewalks.
And again, this comes out of our paving levy.
Comments or questions about this item? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Consent agenda?
Consent.
All right, the next item is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2026 Chevrolet Silverado for the water plant. This is utilities. Mr. Moskin.
Yes, this is a 3/4 ton truck. It would be replacing an '09 truck. And the '09 is at the point where they're putting quite a bit of money into it. And they've used it as long as they can safely. It needs to be a 3/4 ton. It will be arriving with a plow with it because they have several different places they plow, and it will be pulling a good-sized trailer periodically. So this is a necessity for the department.
Okay, pretty thorough presentation.
I could go farther.
That's okay. I think that'll do it. Does anybody have any comments or questions about this? What is the pleasure of the committee?
Consent.
Ordinance.
Consent as well.
Okay. All right, the next item. Ooh, this is the one I think we've all been waiting for. Ordinance authorizing a moratorium on data centers within the city limits. This is from the Planning Committee. Ms. Lodato.
Okay, there was a lot of discussion on this. Obviously, most of us were here for the April 10th meeting where we heard a lot of community feedback. I can confidently say there was not one person who was in support of seeing something like this in the city of Ravenna. And so this is a moratorium on data centers, and I know that we're going to talk about this in the special meeting, and Mr. Semino did prepare an ordinance that is quite comprehensive, and I feel covers all of our bases. Should I talk about this now, or should we wait till the special meeting?
It's up to you. I mean, we can go into a little more detail. There's a lot of people here interested in it, so.
Okay, so the ordinance that is up for consideration, and like I said, it's pretty lengthy, 2026-067. What I really want to draw people's attention to is where some cities have gone wrong is referring to these in their legislation as just data center, and then they come in as something else, as we all found out in the Portager can tend to happen. So this covers our bases, the defining data center, that it could be a server farm or server warehouse, cloud computing facility, co-location facility, cryptocurrency mining operations, high-density computing or data processing facilities, and then allowing for a broad definition. So that way it can't sneak in as something else. It directs Planning Commission to oversee, to investigate things that have to do with how this impacts utilities, zoning classifications, and things like that. So the big thing is, like I said, where a lot of communities have gone wrong is just solely confining the definition to data center. And we want to make sure to protect ourselves during that time. It also disallows for any application to be considered, so there shall be no approval of any application for zoning permits, conditional use permits, variances, site plan approvals, or building permits for the establishment, construction, expansion, or operation of any new data center within the city. So like I said, this is, it's one of our longer ordinances that we've had to consider, but I think that it's what provides the best protection for our community. It might I even say an example for others. So,
And just for clarity, this would be for 1 year.
yes, this would be for 1 year to allow time for to see what we could set up from that point. I know that we were asked in committee, or the last meeting rather, why a moratorium and not a ban? And I think that's probably maybe a question that people in the audience have. At this moment, the moratorium is just, it's more legally defensible at the time. An outright ban is something that can be more easily challenged in court, and we don't want to see that happen right now because we need to have some type of an immediate solution so that we can get ducks in a row a little easier. These things are hitting communities fast. Ravenna is no exception to the rule. That's how they're all coming in. And so they're banking on the fact that they're going to move faster than the legislative process could ever move. And so it behooves us to give us a chance to breathe and sort this out and make sure that we don't end up in any type of litigation, because we need to legally protect ourselves as well.
Mrs. Lodato, the ordinance that's before us, under duration, it says that it's for a period of 1 year, but allows it to be extended if additional time is necessary to complete, and also allows it to be terminated earlier upon adoption of applicable regulations. So I just wanted to mention that those are already covered in the ordinance.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of boilerplate kind of thing for moratoriums.
Correct, and that will be a perfect, I know that there's, wait, it's not on for this one, but when we've extended moratoriums in the past, so
Right.
that's nothing new for the community. So I'm happy to see this up for consideration and for a vote this evening. Like I said, I think this is imperative that we acted quickly but with prudence, and this is a reflection of that.
Yeah.
And for the community who has come and shown how much they really care about this issue and how educated they are on the issue.
Sure.
So thank you.
And how we respect their will and,
Yes.
and their voice in this. Okay, so this will be on the special, so there's no reason to consider this as a consent item. We'll talk about it after we complete the business for the committee of the whole meeting. Are there any other questions or comments from council?
No, I'm glad to see it done.
And thank you, because this is short order, and I know you put a lot of time and effort into this, as well as other members of council.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so what is the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
All right, then we'll move on. Item 9, amending the city charter to make the law director an appointed position. This one may take some discussion. Ms. Lodato, it's from your committee.
Okay, this one, I haven't got a chance to meet with Mr. Semino. I did talk to him about needing to set up an appointment to discuss what this would look like. But this is to change the position of the law director, as Mr. Semino does not plan on rerunning, to move from an elected position to an appointed position. This is going to allow the city more flexibility on evaluating who is looking for qualifications, not just who survived an election or decided to run. You know, Ravenna is a small city, and like I said before, I tried to do some type of a search. Apparently, the Bar Association doesn't keep records of, you know, where lawyers actually live. They definitely have one of where they practice, but where they live is a different story. So I'm going to guess that it is not a very large pool. And so out of the lawyers that live in our community, we would also have to find one that was willing to go through an election process, and also, you know, willing to let that might impact whatever private practice they have to make. So I felt like this was a good move, a good time, and a good move for the city. I see Ravenna as one that is growing and has a lot of potential. And I think that there's going to be more of a legal burden on those things. So I think that this is an opportunity for the city to put in a position that's going to more readily meet the demand. And we did that with the finance director position not too long ago, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that was a great move, so.
Absolutely.
So let me clarify a few things. Procedurally, this is not up for an ordinance vote because there was no tracking sheet. And I know I've been putting off this discussion I've wanted to have with council about the procedures and how we might be able to improve the process. But when an ordinance comes, a request for an ordinance comes out of a committee, it needs to be accompanied by a written tracking sheet, which didn't accompany this. Now, don't worry, because we have other like fail-safe mechanisms. Another way to instigate an ordinance is by a simple vote of the committee of the whole. So we could tonight still move this forward with a majority vote. But I want to caution council not necessarily to do that. And I want to provide a few reasons because I've done a little research. One of the things that was mentioned last week was, and you mentioned it tonight, that we should model this process the way we did for the finance director. But we are not doing that. Okay, and what I did was I went back and I studied the minutes of the meetings related to the finance director, other documents, and kind of put in chronological order what actually happened back in 2019. And some in the audience may remember as well. What happened was our, at the time, finance director, Kimball Sikora, in a similar fashion, announced that he was not going to run for re-election. So that was the first thing that happened. That was kind of similar. I don't know the exact moment that happened, but it was well before the point in time when people would be going out and getting petitions to run for the office. The next thing that happened is council took note, but took no action. Council as a body did not do anything except wait. And what they waited for to see if anybody would apply and take out petitions and run for the office. But then nobody did. So in February of 2019, when it was discovered that nobody was planning to run for the office, that's when council responded to consider, well, what do we do now? We're kind of in a bind. So in March, the very next month, the item came up for discussion in the Personnel Committee, not the Planning Committee. And I think that's another key point. But the first thing that the Planning Committee did in its discussion was say, well, we need to discuss this with the law director, which I find kind of interesting in the sense that back then, the council was talking about the finance director, and they wanted to consult with the law director, presumably to see what the options were if a change in the charter were something council wanted to pursue. Here we have the law director position, and there was no consideration to consult with the law director about what should happen.
Isn't that just what I said? That I'm going to meet with the law director?
No, but not you meeting with the law director individually. I mean, the committee invited the law
Okay.
director to the Personnel Committee in April. Okay? So in April, when the Personnel Committee actually met twice, first time Mr. Semino wasn't present, but on the 22nd he wasn't, he laid out some options. And because the position becomes, the term starts in April, and I think that's due to the budgetary concerns about getting a budget in place or whatever. There was time, to mull this over, and one option was for that current council, and a couple of members are in the audience who are on that, and some on council today, said, well, maybe we'll just wait. We'll wait until the next year, and we'll let the next council decide whether they want to move forward. That was one option. Because maybe somebody would, appear, or maybe it was better to appoint somebody for the interim period and then allow the next election cycle to come about and see if somebody would apply then. So there was a lot of discussion about this. Ultimately, in April, at the Committee of the Whole, it was decided to move forward with proposing a ballot initiative to change the charter. On May 6th, council read it for the first time. They left it for a second reading in June. There was a public hearing on the issue on June 17th. Then on July 1st, on the third reading, it passed unanimously with an emergency clause. So it took effect immediately. Subsequent to that, in the summer, Brian Huff declared himself as a write-in candidate, and in November, with a total of 8 votes, was elected the finance director for the city of Ravenna. On the same ballot, the charter initiative was approved as well. So he served out his 4 years, as he rightly should, and then it became an appointed position. So you can see the trajectory of this was a lot more complicated and a lot more involved and a lot more discussion than a simple discussion at the planning committee, which probably should have been the personnel committee, and then moving it on here and then moving it on. So my suggestion is that council reconsider this. And if they, and by the way, one of the things that I find, and I've had time to think about this, right, since the meeting, one of the things that wasn't discussed was the value of having an elected law director. I mean, everyone talked about the benefits, presumably they have more control, more selection of who would be in that position. But nobody really talked about the independence that a law director could play.
I believe I actually mentioned that, saying that by having an appointed role, it disenfranchises the voters from having
Well-
a independent body of someone that does not answer to.
Right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to,
That's okay.
to disregard what
We
you said,
also
but that was.
talked about how it was financially more advantageous to have an elected versus appointed, so we did have some discussion.
Well, I don't think we had enough discussion, and it
Well,
seem to be
that's your
most,
opinion.
and you can go
Right.
back and you can refresh.
And
'cause
just
I
how we did things in the past doesn't mean we have to continue. There's all different circumstances that happen. And, you know, I think we've seen the amount of need for a law director and the amount of, and it's not going against Mr. Semino, but having to outsource. And I'm not saying that we wouldn't have to still outsource, but this is a prime opportunity to get somebody that we have available when we know they're going to be available, having city experience. And I just think we're missing an opportunity because there is a time limit that this has to be on a ballot. And
Thank you very much, because
Exactly.
this is what's going to make this different than the scenario you just described.
Exactly.
Because the law director is not up for reelection till next year.
Right.
And so this allows not to have that conflict of potentially, we kicked the can down the road and oops, we did it so long that we missed the chance to get it on the ballot for November. Doing this
Well,
now
first of
gives
all-
us the
First of all,
opportunity.
let me reclaim the floor.
No, let me finish what I was saying.
No, because I was talking when everybody else interrupted me, because I
Oh,
wasn't
sorry,
finished.
geez.
So, but, look, in the past, we had, as I said, the election of a finance director and the charter initiative on the same ballot. That is the history of this. But just to reiterate, and by the way, what I was going to say was, you're right about disenfranchising the public, but my point was the independence of the position itself. That I don't believe was discussed, because when you have an appointed position, there could be a perceived pressure or influence by whoever the mayor may be at that time, or even council, depending upon how it's structured. Whereas an independent law director facing something that might the council or the mayor or somebody within the government might be doing that person legally with their background has concerns about, would have the independence to act upon it without that influence. Now, I'm not proposing anything. I'm just saying I think we need to take a pause and do a deeper dive into considering this. I'm not opposed to changing the position. I just think we're being too preemptive about it. So I would like, it would be my suggestion that council reconsider this. Nobody's saying we won't move forward, and we will have more time to even do this, to put it on. And the other thing to consider is just because you propose a ballot initiative doesn't mean it's going to pass. So don't make assumptions about how great an idea this is when it's going to be up to the people to
Exactly.
decide.
It's up to the people.
I just think we need to have a deeper discussion. I think it was structured incorrectly. I think it belongs in the Personnel Committee where historically something like this would normally go. I would ask that that happen, that further discussion be planned and that it be put in the Personnel Committee. Now I will relinquish the floor.
I'm not in favor of your suggestion.
Okay.
I'm in favor of, the one thing that I think, is going to hold us back is kicking the can down the road on this. I mean, this is something, Mr. Semino has been here, serving 50 years? I mean, there's been a lot of time. I don't think this is not a novel idea the first time somebody's brought this up. And I think that we are trying to do the more responsible thing, avoid a scenario like we had with the finance director where we're having potentially the law director on the same ballot as the year there'd be a reelection. I'm trying to avoid that. I'm not trying to avoid the discussion or the public input, and I would never advise that we push this through in any type of an emergency, and it should go to 3 reads and have a chance for a public hearing. But we need to start that process. I don't see what there is to gain over transferring it to a different committee and mulling it over and adding an additional meeting. I really just holistically don't see the benefit of doing that.
I agree with you, Carmen, 100%. We've had stuff in committees. There's been multiple times I've had stuff in my committee that should have been in personnel and it wouldn't go in personnel. You can fix something to fit that category, but I think planning is also appropriate because it's a charter change. So, I mean,
And I don't assume it's going to pass, by the way. I don't assume that for a second. I've seen multiple elections with multiple charter amendments on, and sometimes I don't know what people are thinking, voting for one or the other, and probably a lot of people might not understand what it's asking, so I don't assume at all. But I do think it needs to get out in front of them and not do this and potentially have a conflict of there being a law director on the ballot, but also an item to get rid of a law director position as an elected one. I think that is super confusing for people.
and we should have law directors here at our meetings.
I agree with that. I agree that that should be something that council has to rely on. And again, that protects us legally more, having consistent attendance.
Dr. Calfee?
Mr. Karas, I would support returning this to the Personnel Committee and working through it. I believe that would be the best way to address it. We do have lots of timelines that we have to look at and when it would be voted on and how we would change the charter. I'm not against moving to an appointed position at all, but I do think we need to have a thorough and in-depth discussion about some of the issues that came up regarding it. But if we get it into the committee, we can start working on it and getting some type of vote on it in a timely manner.
And just the note on the timeline, when it was discussed last week, the assumption, Ms. Lodato, by you was that it would have a first reading in June.
It wasn't an assumption. We were talking about that in the context of doing a charter amendment for a city manager. And that's just the timeline that would fit for that, but you could presume it for this as well.
But that, I'm just saying that's what you said. You said you assumed it would be on a first reading in June. You can go back and look at the recording if you don't believe me. My point is we can still do that and send this to the Personnel Committee for May. So we can still accomplish that. One final point, and I'll let others, take the floor and say whatever they wish. We have a Charter Review Commission coming up next year. And to me, that's where this belongs. Council in 2019 only did this because there was an extraordinary situation, and there wasn't a Charter Review Commission on the horizon. And by the way, I'll reiterate, the first whereas statement in the ordinance that was passed in July of 2019 says, whereas no candidates came forward to be elected to the office of finance director. It's a clear indication it was a response to that. we're not letting that happen. But why are we not putting it in the hands of the people who decide what our charter is like? I've always been very skeptical about charter revisions that come directly from council. I think it's the people who decide what's in the charter. And I've always said while I was on council and had a vote, I would never vote against anything that the charter review put before the council. I didn't think that was appropriate. So I'll end there, but anybody else wish to speak about this? Who hasn't spoken?
Let's say that you get only one person that files to run, and that person has a kind of checkered record legally, but hey, they still have their law degree and they're the person running. That's what you expose the risk for the city. You don't know who's going to run. There could only be one person. This makes sure that Ravenna is going to have the best quality representative. We can hash that out. When you have people that run, it could be anybody, and I'm sorry, frankly, this position is too important. It's too critical to the city. And and a lot of us that are up here and people out in the audience have served on charter review. So I'm not undermining what charter review does. But I can say as a council member in another city and here, you don't understand truly what the impact of a law director is unless you are sitting in this chair. That is very difficult for somebody who's on charter review and has never been on a city council to conceptualize what the differences are between those things. So I fundamentally disagree on this issue, but I do have no objection to it going to personnel because I feel that Dr. Calfee is a thorough and comprehensive person and also not a kicker of cans down the road. But and Dr. Calfee, me putting this on my committee was meant in no way to usurp what you
Nobody's
could have done.
suggesting
But I do think that waiting, I've said this so many times up here tonight, to wait for charter review to consider this means that it would be considered at the same time as we would have the law director on the ballot. And I think that is inherently confusing and a disservice to charter review.
Exactly.
Well, I think we have an opportunity to communicate instead of just leaving it as a mystery to both of these bodies, both the public and charter review. Like, there is some of the natural process of how we do things. We do rely on the charter review commission to help us determine what should be the actual function and structure of our government. And that's the absolute core of it. We derive the power from the people. And we are their representatives. And I think, from my perspective, that is the work of that body. And having been a chair of that body, I think that we should refer it to them and just give them all of our homework and say, hey, this is the research we've done. Here's the situation that we find ourselves in. That makes the work of that body easier. Again, communicate to the public. Say, hey, while we have this is the process. Like, if there are candidates for it, that's just we have an existing system. And it's not completely defunct. And we have many things like we can. I sometimes worry that we get very caught up in this chamber on minutia about things when we have a whole list of agenda items. This work belongs to that body. Can we please return to our agenda?
But it's also within that same document that gives this body up here the same
Exactly.
authority.
And it's the timing.
And it's there for a reason as well.
It's the timing of all of this happening, and if we have an opportunity to do the right thing, because we've seen by being on council what is going on and what could do better, then I think it's wrong of us not to act on it now. And I think that we should let the people decide, because the timing is not charter review, and the timing is now where our law director is not running. And if we can make the system better for our community, then why are we not even trying?
Other voices? I mean, I know it sounds a little contentious, but I do appreciate a robust debate about this. I mean, this is the core of my point, is that there's some disagreement. And rather than forge ahead when we do have time, why not take the extra time to discuss this? So I guess, does anybody else, Ms. West, Mr. Moskian, Mr. Harper haven't spoken? If you don't want to, that's fine.
I would be okay with moving this to personnel and continuing the discussion. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that's the most reasonable path forward as well.
Mr. Moskin?
I was going to make the exact same comment.
Mr. Harper, do you have any input
Yeah,
on this?
being part of the Personnel Committee, I'd be happy to take a deeper look into this.
Okay. This doesn't require action. We could just reassign this to the Personnel Committee and move on. And I think there seems to be a consensus, or at least the majority, to do that. Okay, so then that's what we'll do, and then we'll continue with the agenda tonight. All right, the next item on our agenda is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the Northeast Ohio Disc Golf Grant Award. This is also from the Planning Committee, Ms. Lodato.
All right, well, at least this one's an easy one. It's $1,000 for the city to make signs in front of the tees for the disc golf.
Ordinance.
Yeah.
They're already
The most
designed.
sublime to ridiculous. Any comments or concerns about this? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance. Consent.
Consent.
All right, the next item is an ordinance approving the Tax Incentive Review Council appointment of board members. This is from Community and Economic Development, Ms. West.
And this is pretty much some housekeeping, but it is approving the board members that were listed in our packet last week for the Turk.
And to be noted, there is a open
Yeah, there's
board
an open
position.
spot for a resident that we are looking for. We have a few candidates, but we haven't confirmed yet. I'll talk to the mayor.
But it sounds like we can move this on and have a vote on it at our May meeting, and by then identify specifically who we want to seat on there.
Correct.
Okay. What's the pleasure, oh, any other comment or concern? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance. Consent.
I don't think we can put this in the consent since we need to discuss who we're
Oh,
appointing.
okay. Gotcha.
Somebody contacted me, by the way, about wanting to serve.
I have 3 people right now. I don't know if that's the person.
Okay.
So send me the name if you have
Okay.
somebody else.
All right, the next item is an ordinance approving the Tax Incentive Review Council meeting minutes, also from Community and Economic Development.
Yep, that is as it reads. We get these every year. We have to approve them in order for things to move forward.
It's the requirement to have them approved, yep.
Right. Questions or concerns? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Consent agenda? All right, the next item is an ordinance extending a moratorium on storage facilities within the city limits. Also need a little bit of discussion on this one, but this
Yes.
is from Community and Economic Development.
So we discussed this. So the original intention when it was on my agenda was for us to look at the moratorium to see what needs to be changed. However, based off of our conversation, it sounds like council's more in favor of a ban on storage or limiting storage facilities instead of continuing a moratorium. So, I thought, let's have some discussion and see where this goes from here.
And then another kind of point of order with this one, as with the law director item, no tracking sheet was submitted.
Correct.
So technically speaking, this is, even though it's
Just
listed as
discussion.
ordinance, it's actually under discussion.
I will say that I know that a couple things that we did discuss that I want to make sure that whatever's put forward is defining what that self-storage is super important. I think that has to be really clear. So some time to be able to do that, to come up
Yeah.
with a good, clear definition of what it is, to make sure, kind of like, the data stuff. I mean, making sure that we're covering everything that we
co-location
need to
center kind of
cover,
thing.
right? Making sure we're covering everything and making sure that it's nice and clear. It's not something that we've had a big focus on. However, we do note that there's plentiful storage units in the city and of Ravenna and surrounding cities. Plentiful storage units that do have vacancies. I am unclear at what those exact vacancies are because it's very difficult to get that information from the storage facilities. To really look at this in a little more detail before we completely move forward.
Okay, and it would be preferable to have the actual code additions or changes before council.
Correct.
I mean, if they're in rough draft form, by the time we get to the committee of the whole, that's one thing, but I don't know that they
Yeah.
even exist yet.
No,
So am I assuming your preference is to keep this on your committee for more discussion, or at least wait
Yes.
another month?
Yes, please.
Then that's what we'll do. All right, the next item is an ordinance amending ordinance 2025-130. By the way, this is the payroll ordinance, and this is from the Personnel Committee. Dr. Calfee.
At our most recent negotiations, we approved a new contract for the Fraternal Order of Police. In that contract, we upped the afternoon and night shift differential by $1, up to $1. However, we just did it for the full-time police. We failed to see that in the contract, there was a part-time patrolman differential also. So we're just changing that from the 50 cents up to the $1 to match what we have with the full-time patrolman.
Questions or concerns about this item? A little bit of housekeeping to correct a mistake that was, or something that wasn't included. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Would you like to put this?
Consent.
Agenda? Okay. All right, our last item is an ordinance authorizing the execution of then and now certificates. This wasn't vetted by the Finance Committee, but that's typically the timing of when these things come in, but our Finance Director can explain, I think, the three items if
Yes,
need be.
there's 3 this month, better than last month, and these are just, it's a requirement for state audit for us to approve POs over 3,000 that haven't been approved before the purchase.
Ms. Lawrence, this might be an all-time low. 3?
We only had one time.
Did we? Okay.
We had 0, 1 month.
Okay.
You forget.
Okay,
Yeah.
we forgot.
Waiting for that month when we have
Yeah, I'm
none.
waiting for the magic to happen. Yeah.
Any questions or concerns? What is the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Consent.
All right, that completes our business for the committee of the whole meeting, so I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let me just ask, get a sense of the room. Does anybody want to take a break? I mean, we haven't gone as far as we could have gone. I know
Let's
we
go.
have many
Let's
people.
keep
waiting.
going.
Okay, I just wanted to be, conscious of people's biological needs. All right, then we will, I will call to order the Ravenna special meeting for April 20th. Ms. Grego, would you please read the announcement?
You are hereby notified that a special meeting of the Ravenna City Council has been called for Monday, April 20th, 2026 at 7 p.m. or immediately following the Committee of the Whole meeting, which begins at 6 p.m. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss and/or act upon Ordinance 2026-65, approving a contribution to Main Street Ravenna, Ordinance 2026-66, approving a contribution to the Chamber of Commerce, Ordinance 2026-67, establishing a temporary moratorium on data centers, changing the legislative process, to hold an executive session for the potential purchase of real estate, and to go into an executive session to discuss the compensation of city employees.
And could you call the roll?
Mr. Calfee?
Here.
Ms. West?
Here.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Lodato?
Here.
Mr. Maravich?
Here.
Ms. Michael?
Here.
Mr. Harper?
Here.
Okay, everyone is present. Let's start in. We have a couple of ordinances on second reading. The first one is ordinance number 2026-65.
An ordinance approving a contribution of $60,000 to Main Street Ravenna for downtown revitalization efforts for 2026 and 2027 and declaring an emergency.
Okay, well, we've had quite a number of discussions on this particular item. There seemed to be some agreement amongst members of council that there could be an amendment to this regarding the term.
Rob?
Yes.
I'd like to propose an amendment to, for ordinance 2026-65 for a 1 year instead of 2.
So changing section number 1 to approve the contribution for efforts for 2026.
Correct.
And leaving striking and 2027. Is there a second to that motion?
There is, second.
Second. Beat me to it, Tyler.
Do we have discussion about it?
There's a couple additional places in the ordinance that
Oh,
would
is
need
there?
to be changed.
Oh, I
Up in the
see. Yeah,
last
you're right.
whereas,
The first- yeah.
2 to 1 year. revisit the contribution amount at the end of 2026. And I think with those three
Thank you.
changes,
And
Yeah.
section 1 is, oh, no, you got it.
Well, the
You got
title,
it.
the title and the last whereas in section 1,
Correct.
I believe those are the three. You
Yes.
got those, clerk? Yeah.
I think that as far as discussion goes, I know that this has gone back and forth quite a bit, and we've had quite, the last committee meeting, we had a lot of great discussion about it. And I felt like that was the consensus that council, was looking for at this time.
I think the one-year period doesn't overcommit us for anything, and that allays some concerns, so.
And I think the plan is that we're going to expect more constant contact with
So-
Main Street Ravenna. I've offered as a liaison to attend their board meetings and report back to council.
And then also, I've asked Main Street to come to council quarterly and report back on what they're doing, what they're struggling with, what's working well, and they're willing to do that. I've also asked Main Street to attempt to come back sooner. I know timing felt funky this year, but so we're not talking about this almost in May. So then that way they have more time to work. So, yeah.
Other
No,
comments? or
I'm just going to
questions?
state, I'm still not for that much of an increase. I still support Main Street for what we were giving them, but personally, I cannot support this increase. So I will just leave it at that.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to comment?
I feel like there's some new people involved, and especially the Books A Go-Go owner. I mean, she's a fantastic programmer, and I mean, I guess we'll all see. It's the end of this year, but I really have high hopes, so.
Other comments or questions?
I look forward to collaborating with them.
The,
Yes, Mr. Mosky.
yes, I've thought this over quite a bit, and I believe the total amount is a little bit high at this time.
Okay.
That's my comment.
All right. Anybody else?
As a point of order, I do believe we have a motion that has been seconded.
Yes, we do. Let's have a roll call for the motion only to amend the ordinance and just in general to reduce the term from 2 years to 1 year with those three different places within the ordinance.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes,
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. We have an amended ordinance. So now, unless there are other amendments or other questions of order, I'll proceed with this being on second reading to ask if there's a motion to waive the third reading.
So moved.
Second,
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
yes.
Mr. Moskin?
no,
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. The next ordinance is, the next motion is this ordinance has an emergency clause. Is there a motion to adopt it?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
no,
Ms. Michael?
No.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Then finally, do we have a motion to approve the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
no,
Ms. Michael?
No.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Okay, that ordinance is adopted. The next ordinance is ordinance number 2026-66.
An ordinance approving a contribution of $40,000 to Ravenna Chamber of Commerce for continued local business support for 2026 and 2027 and declaring an emergency.
This one is also sponsored by Community and Economic Development. Ms. West?
And again, I had a lot of conversation with Chamber as far as changes moving forward. They're also going to come and report quarterly to us. I have offered to, I know our economic developer does attend our chamber meetings, but I have offered to attend as well, just as Rob is attending the Main Street meeting, so then that way we're getting that feedback back to council, and we can kind of report back on what they're doing, what they're spending, what they're investing in our community. So I'm going to do that, and they are also going to try to come back sooner and, come with their proposal so that we have a little more time and they have some more time to work on this.
Are you going to keep this one for a year as well?
Yes, I just wasn't there yet. Yeah, so I'm going to make a motion to adjust the ordinance to read support for 2026 and strike the 2027 from the first, and then where else is it, Calfee? I know you got it.
There's a
The last
title,
whereas.
there's the
Yep,
third
section
whereas,
First whereas.
The-
and
section 1.
There, the last whereas in section 1. Thanks.
Is there a second to her motion?
Second.
Let's have a roll call.
Ms.
Oh,
West?
wait, before we do,
Oh,
is there discussion? I don't want to deprive the council of a discussion of the amendment.
No, I said I feel the same. I'm just not for any increases right now currently with our having the safety levy on, and I just think the timing is bad.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, let's proceed with the roll call.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Excuse me. Unless there are any other motions or points of order, I'll ask if, since this also is on second reading, if there's a motion to waive the third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. This ordinance as well has an emergency clause. Is there a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
No.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Okay. The motion to adopt the emergency clause passes. The last consideration is to approve the ordinance. We
So
have a motion
moved.
for that.
Second.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Mr. Kelfie?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
No.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Okay, that ordinance is adopted. Okay, our last ordinance for the special meeting is ordinance number 2026-67.
An ordinance establishing a temporary moratorium on the approval of new data centers within the city of Ravenna for a period of 1 year to allow for study and development of appropriate regulations and declaring an emergency.
This is sponsored by the Planning Committee. Ms. Lodato?
Yes, we went into some discussion during the committee of the whole. Again, I just think that the most important thing is that this is a reflection of learning about where other communities went wrong on this process. I'd like to reflect again on how the meeting on the 10th that literally put Ravenna on a national stage as a place where we are being proactive and not reactive and acting in the community's best interests. Thanks in large part to many of the people that are in attendance tonight, so I give you my most sincere thanks for attending then and attending now and speaking and informing us of things that we might not otherwise have known about or had time to research. I do think that it's important that, again, the definition, I know we talked about it with the storage centers, how it's important to define these things, but in this sense, less of a concrete definition and more to know that these places come in disguised as something else, but they have nevertheless the same impact. And as we all learned when the Portage article came out last week, that apparently one was put in right under our nose as a Bitcoin mining operation. These things are not economic development. They are locusts and leeches on our resources. They inflate people's utilities costs. I was extremely disappointed to learn that there was already a 500 server Bitcoin mining operation, and that is somehow put under the umbrella of economic development, because I just don't see it, and I'm highly disappointed. And one thing that I really love about this ordinance is, though this is the kind of thing that is going to protect something like that from happening again and being perpetrated on our residents.
And let us also remind everybody that council did not vote that Bitcoin place.
No.
We had nothing to do with it. It did not have to come before council or planning commission for that to come in. It just, because it's a mining, so it's a data mining. And because they did not need any of our utilities infrastructure, it wasn't required. And because of the size, it wasn't required for them to come to us. So I just want to make that clear. We had nothing to do with that. And unfortunately, that is something that we could not stop. I do know that they're having to get more electrical out there input, or is it because they're having electrical issues already?
Yes,
And it's
substation
and it's as small as it is, and that's a little bit concerning to me. Is that going to cause our electricity bills now to go up?
This moratorium allows us to examine our zoning code and even put things in there that would require something like that to come before our planning commission or our council, so we would become aware of this. And unfortunately, I just feel like these are the types of operations that take advantage of the fact that this is new technology, and that a lot of places legislatively haven't had an opportunity to get ahead of it or how to write it into our codes. And we know that now, and we can prevent it from happening, and this is how it gets done.
Any other comments or questions? All right, then let's proceed. Is there a motion to waive the 3 separate readings?
So moved.
Second,
Ms. West?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
yes.
Mr. Calfee? Yes. Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And the ordinance contains an emergency clause. Is there a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved,
Second.
Ms. Michael?
yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Mr. Calfee?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
And do we have a motion to approve the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Mr. Maravich?
Yes.
Mr. Calfee?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Moskin?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?
Yes.
Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Okay, that ordinance stands approved. We have a moratorium on data centers currently in place since the,
Thank you. Thanks to all of you, too.
okay. Moving on in the agenda, I'm going to defer the one item I put on there for discussion, which was changing or discussing the legislative process, just
you.
due to time and the fact that we need to go in executive session, and I do think it's going to be a fairly lengthy one. If that's okay with everyone, I'll see if I can find time when we have, more time to discuss that. So moving on then, the only thing remaining is an executive session. We're going to discuss, if we get the proper motion, a potential purchase of real estate and the discussion of the compensation of city employees. So for the public, we have no business. When we return from executive session, you're free to go about your evening. We thank you for your presence and your kind attention. I think this was very good. But, what's that? I just wanted to say thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we're gonna continue with our meeting. I apologize. If there's something you want to communicate with us, feel free to email us or something. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Then are you going to say thank you? Yeah. Oh, okay. You're certainly welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
certainly
Thanks for being here.
Okay, now as people move out, if we can get a motion to go into executive session.
I'd like to-
Let me, before you do that though, let me read
has
the
a
proper
catchphrase.
wording of the motion
Do we,
for.
you want to just wait a minute?
Yeah, let's
till we
hold on for
clear
a
a little
second.
bit?
Still somewhat torn. 60, but
I just,
That's a good idea. Don't wait for us.
business for next year.
Yeah.
What is that? What are they? You're all the way over, Rob. No, you got stuff. What is it?
Yeah, right. Look at you. You have issues. But you know, this watermelon, man, I don't know what it is. It tastes like
Mine. These are good.
Compliments of Aldi.
Oh, okay. I just,
Just for the not record.
we'll have great discussion.
Long form of that.
It'll truly be a legislative process. I'm actually in favor of it. I'm actually in favor of it.
For a minute or two.
Wait for Mr. Mosker to return.
Where's Mr.
We got the gum thing going on too.
It's
Everybody
complicated.
has.
Yeah, it's complicated.
If it gets low and I'm not here, let me know, I'll get more.
We have an absent member.
Oh, we can still go.
Okay, well then, in that case, apologize. Tyler gave me a very sticky chocolate.
Switch them to two.
There's a high-quality caramel.
On this side.
Is there a motion to enter executive session to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, since the premature disclosure of information regarding the purchase would give an unfair, competitive, or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the general public interest, and to discuss the compensation of city employees?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kelfi,
Yes.
Mr. Maravich,
Yes.
Ms. West,
Yes.
Mr. Moskin? Yeah. Ms. Lodato?
Yes.
Ms. Michael?